in terms of David Ortiz, Pedro Martinez, those people kind of coming out and getting on the Angels and talking about loyalty and things like that, I'd like to sit here and remind Pedro and David Ortiz and really anyone else who really wants to get mad at the Angels thinking that they owed Albert Pujols something. Look, for the last 9 years, Albert Pujols was well below what was expected of him when he signed that 10-year deal and still took every single penny that was on that contract. What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Welcome into another edition of the Changeup, our weekly Major League Baseball podcast. We break down everything going on in the world of baseball, not just Major League, but we got some minor league stuff to talk about today as well with my co-host. You can find Bryanna Winner at bwinner12 on Twitter. Bryanna, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm just excited to talk about this. Not excited about the first story, but there's a lot that happened with that one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I'm sure, look, if you're a baseball fan, we do these podcasts usually either Tuesday or Wednesday, and myself and Bryanna, we always joke the day after we do the podcast, something big's going to happen. And this week, seemed like everything big happened. We had both no-hitters that we saw, and then without a doubt, the biggest news of the year, at least so far in Major League Baseball, Albert Pujols getting designated for assignment. And look, we saw the news, and I think at first it kind of raises some eyebrows. You dive a little deeper into it, and maybe not as big of a surprise as first thought. But look, we have to do our due diligence here. This is definitely Bryanna's jurisdiction, being the Angel fan. She's the one who kind of has the scoop on what was going down really in the final moments or the final hours before everything kind of, I guess, came to a head, if you will. So without further ado, Bryanna, will pass it over to you. What was going on leading up to the Albert Pujols situation?
Well, obviously, this is all going to be happening the night before. This is not happening the day it happened. So he was told he was going to be starting against the Rays. And by the end of this day, again, the day before everything was announced, he was yelling at Joe Maddon. He told John Carpino and Perry Manassian he wasn't going to retire. He did not want to spend the rest of his season on the bench. And he blasted Maddon's managerial skills. Keep in mind, I did find this online from USA Today. So obviously, many didn't agree with what happened, like David Ortiz and on Adrian Beltran. But here are the facts. He had not been performing. He did better when he was with the Cardinals. He was hitting 198 this season. And he was only worth a -2 WAR since 2017. I agree with this. It should have happened sooner. I hate the way it happened, though. But again, it needed to happen. And now the Angels have more cap space to go get pitching, which they desperately need right now.
Definitely. I agree. It's unfortunate that it ended this way, but I mean, look, if you've been following the last 9 years, his time in Anaheim, it's kind of the way we all, I mean, there wasn't really going to be any other way. I think the Angels went into this season going, okay, let's give him 30 days. Let's give him, a month into the season. It doesn't help the fact that Matt Walsh is having a fantastic season at first base. Jared Walsh, excuse me. Thank you. Jared Walsh having a fantastic season there at first base. Shohei Ohtani is generally the everyday DH. And then when you're paying a guy like Albert Pujols, the type of money he is, that's not really, and he doesn't want to be a bench player. It's unfortunate to hear the way it was handled on Pujols' end. And, once again, I think Bryanna kind of alluded to it too. It is, USA Today. Not saying that's, fake news, but it's definitely not, set in stone. We don't know this is 100%, but it makes sense that this would kind of trigger what we saw the day after in terms of all the stuff. In terms of David Ortiz, Pedro Martinez, those people kind of coming out and getting on the Angels and talking about loyalty and things like that. I'd like to sit here and remind Pedro and David Ortiz and really anyone else who really wants to get mad at the Angels thinking that they owed Albert Pujols something. Look, for the last 9 years, Albert Pujols was well below what was expected of him when he signed that 10-year deal and still took every single penny that was on that contract. Never once did Albert Pujols go into Artie Moreno and anyone else and say, you know what, look, we could be better if we restructure my contract. Now, I know that doesn't happen in baseball. I understand that. It's an NFL thing with the salary cap. I understand that. But Albert Pujols could have showed some loyalty and said, look, I am not a $30 million a year player at my age or what I'm doing right now. Let's figure this out. He didn't do that. So the Angels in the last year pretty much, look, the Angels were waiting for this. They probably wanted to release him a couple of years back, but they were going to have to pay the contract anyway. It's really, really unfortunate. But here are a couple stats or a couple, I guess things that jump out to me in his time in Anaheim, in the 10 years, or I guess 9+ years in Anaheim. Albert Pujols led the league in one category in those 9 years. He did it twice. It was grounded into double plays. The only category he led the league in. Going back to his time in St. Louis, his worst year, he hit .299 with 37 home runs and 99 RBIs. He finished 17th in the MVP voting. That was his final year in St. Louis. His first year in Anaheim, he hit .282, and that was his best year in Anaheim. He also finished 17th in the MVP voting in 2012 and 2014. He finished no lower than 9th in St. Louis prior to his final year in St. Louis. So this was a contract that the Angels obviously signed Albert Pujols to, expecting him to continue the success he had with the Cardinals. Pujols hit about .250 with the Angels in 10 years, which, look, isn't terrible. He did a lot of great things in Anaheim. There were a lot of situations in Anaheim where he was a part of good things, not great things, but good things. It wasn't the success he had in St. Louis. It's unfortunate it ends this way. But if you're Albert Pujols and you've seen the way it's been going the last 9 years in Anaheim, and you're hitting 180 and you're seeing Walsh and Ohtani kind of steal your spots and you're getting paid a lot of money, I feel like you have to see the writing on the wall. And for him to react the way allegedly he did, that really seems out of character for what I've heard about Albert Pujols. But this is a guy who I guarantee you, look, all these players have massive egos. And this is a first ballot Hall of Famer. No matter what happened in Anaheim, this guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest players of our generation. It's unfortunate he goes out this way. The Angels, I think, are better off without him. Like you said, they got some money now to go out, probably more so next year. They're still going to have to pay Pujols this year, but next year they can go out. And I do question from an Angels standpoint. I don't know if they're going to give up, but the Angels kind of way they've been doing things the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years with Artie Moreno has been big splashes in the free agent market. Josh Hamilton, CJ Wilson, obviously Rendon, things like that. They haven't all blown up in their face, but they definitely haven't obviously given them success that, it building inside the organization did when they did in 2002 when they won the World Series, when they were bringing up, ingrown talent, homegrown talent. Mike Trout's the only homegrown talent, at least that's hit a high level for the Angels. Hopefully they can kind of maybe change that focus, not splurge as much on those big free agents. But we'll see. Artie Moreno is someone that hasn't been afraid to spend money. And with Pujols, my question to you, Bryanna, now, do you see Albert Pujols playing a baseball game ever again?
I mean, I would see the Cardinals doing it just to give him a last hurrah, but otherwise, no. But I know I've been seeing a lot of articles about 5 places he should go. But at the same time, he has not done well. He can barely run. He can barely hit. he can't really do anything anymore. And that's just going to put a bigger hole in teams' pockets if they do try to go for him for a long period of time. I doubt the long period of time thing will happen. But again, use your money elsewhere rather than some guy who's too old to continue playing.
I agree.
And hasn't done well this year.
Yeah. And really throughout the contract, or at least not what was expected.
But I think this season is also one of his worst ever.
And there is a question, I kind of brought it up to you. There have always been a bit of a question on how accurate and how, you know, the Latin players, when they come, are they really of that age? I go back to 4 or 5 years ago, there was a report that Albert Pujols was actually older than what, you know, we had thought. We know Albert Pujols right now is a 42-year-old. He signed that 10-year deal after his, you know, age 32 season. There are some people who say he might be closer to 50 rather than 40. So that's something that goes out there for Albert Pujols' future. It's unfortunate because, first of all, he can't play a position, or I don't think anybody's going to put him in a position to be an everyday player. He obviously wants that to be the case. The only position you can put him in as every day would be DH. So you'll have now only half the league that can use him, and take out one of those teams because it's not going back to Anaheim. So you really only have 14 destinations for him. Is there a contender that really is going to say, you know what, hey, I'm going to go out? I could see maybe if someone like the Yankees get hit with a rash of injuries. I don't know. No one's going to have to pay him a ton of money this year. He's still getting paid by the Angels, so he'll get paid the minimum, whatever the $700,000 minimum, if anyone picks him up. I agree with you, though. The only place I could see this making sense would be the last weekend in St. Louis of the season. The Cardinals have already wrapped up what they've needed to wrap up and all that stuff. They sign Albert Pujols. He goes out, gives a curtain call. You know, that's all I can see. I don't know how this guy gets on a team with the role he wants. I think if he could sit here and say, you know what, I'll be a bench player and I'll come in and, you know, be a National League DH to fill in when we play an American League, or a pinch hitter late, I think a team would take a chance on him. I don't know if there's a ton, but if he is sitting here, you know, saying I need to be an everyday player, I don't think there's a single team in Major League Baseball that's going to take that chance, period. But that is something we shall see throughout the rest of the year. Moving on to other news that seems to come out after the pod goes live, or after we finish the pod, and it's the no-hitters. We saw John Means and Wade Miley both throw no-hitters last week. Obviously, Wade Miley's was great. I don't want to discount what he did, but John Means, his no-hitter was one that I don't know if I've ever seen. I might have and maybe never really thought of it, but John Means, the only reason he didn't have a perfect game, you look through the box score and you try and figure out, why isn't this a perfect game? He didn't allow a hit, obviously didn't walk anybody, and there were no errors. It was a drop third strike that allowed a runner to reach base. Therefore, you don't get the 27 up, 27 down. There was a lot of questions. Should it be considered a perfect game? Blah, blah, blah. But obviously, John Means, Wade Miley, fantastic efforts as it continues. It's 4 no-hitters now in the early goings, the most since, I believe, the 1960s, something like that. But Bryanna, what are your thoughts on the no-hitters, and maybe your thoughts on John Means's, I guess, almost perfect game?
Well, you asked the question, should it be considered a perfect game? And I say no. We didn't consider the 7-inning no-hitters a no-hitter. So why should this be considered a perfect game? Yes, it was a wild pitch, but again, he still got on base, whether you like it or not. So that's why I don't think it's a perfect game. But, I mean, congrats on the no-hitters. You're still going to be in the record books, whether it's for your team, like Musgrove, or just in general.
Yeah, and I think for John Means, I agree with you. The part of the perfect game is 27 up, 27 down. That didn't happen. It was 28 up, 28 down, or at least 28 outs or 27 outs. Obviously, he gets credit for the strikeout, but doesn't get the out in the scorebook. So it's unfortunate, but I mean, we're talking about splitting hairs on an absolutely fantastic performance. And I think this is just continuing to build the situation for John Means. This guy is not just, he's Baltimore's only player. This is an elite pitcher now. This is a guy who goes out and could be an ace for, I would say, 90% of the teams in Major League Baseball. And the Orioles obviously will have some questions to answer, in a couple of years when they figure out, does John Means want to stick around for whatever rebuild process, or do they have to turn him into prospects in a trade? But John Means, Wade Miley, maybe, Wade Miley, a nice little journeyman, but John Means, fantastic effort, and really starting to cement himself as a true out and out ace, not just for Baltimore, but a true ace in all of Major League Baseball. So congratulations to both those gentlemen. I'm sure, at least for John Means, I expect plenty more success from him as well. Hopefully, who knows, maybe he can actually get that perfect game without any kind of weirdness. But moving on to news that broke yesterday, being Tuesday, the 11th of May, it was the A's possible relocation, or at least Major League Baseball giving the A's permission to talk to other cities. It's been a long, ongoing battle, and as someone who lives in San Diego, a former Charger fan, believe me, I know all about what it is to deal with, city councils and votes and things like that. To give you a little bit of background, a bit of a reason why 2017 there was a plan going forward to get the A's a stadium. We are getting close to a vote on that from, I believe, the city council or some being or entity in the city of Oakland. They are going to vote on that. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, this is a negotiation tactic. This is essentially putting the ball into those people's court, saying, look, this is all on you now. If you say no to this, the A's are going to leave. Bryanna, what are your thoughts? Obviously, this is hitting a little close to home in the American League West. What are your thoughts on the A's possibly relocating out of Oakland?
It hasn't worked before, and it's probably not going to happen now. That's just my thoughts on it. I even told you this yesterday. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I do personally believe that this is a little different in terms of at least Major League Baseball coming out in front of it and saying, hey, yeah, we're behind you in this. Major League Baseball usually, and most leagues, even the NFL to a certain degree with San Diego, they want to keep the teams where they are. I think for the city of Oakland, this is really, really a dire strait for them. Now, obviously, Oakland has its own aura. I don't need to sit here and tell you that, but the sporting events and sporting teams are a big part of that. If the A's leave, they will have lost 3 teams in a 7-year period going back. And I know the Warriors are still the Golden State Warriors, but they moved across the bay to San Francisco. And there are plenty of people in Oakland who will tell you they could have moved all the way across the country. And that doesn't, there's such a rivalry there. So they lost the Raiders. They've lost the Warriors to San Francisco and possibly losing Oakland. I do believe the A's will stay because of that. I think this is a negotiation tactic. As I said, I believe the powers that be, whoever's, putting this all together, I think will say yes to this because look, this has been 3 years in the making. So there have to be at least a majority or at least a high group of people who are behind this and can do enough to keep this going. Obviously, you see the price tag of what a new stadium is and taxpayers kind of shake their head, and I don't blame them. Look, it's tough, especially in the state of California. We're taxed for everything. And sometimes you have to look at other things, what else it brings. Obviously, it won't just be those 81 baseball games. It could be a multitude of things, concerts, things like that. We'll see how that goes. I will say one thing that is working against the city of Oakland in this is I believe right now there has never been more willing and able cities ready to bring in a Major League Baseball organization. I mean, we've already talked. I mean, Vegas is already at the top. You go on Twitter, and if you search Oakland A's relocation, the Las Vegas A's are pretty much right there at the top. And that would obviously make sense with what Vegas has been doing lately with their sports teams, bringing them in. That would be another kick in the gut. There's been a lot of talk about, always talk about Oklahoma City, always talk about Louisville, Nashville, things like that. That would be a little difficult with the, geographics of it. You can't really have a Nashville A's in the American League West, but we'll see how that goes. This story, obviously, I think is still developing. There's obviously a big vote coming. And even then, look, we're not a political podcast, but we all know the red tape that people have to jump through to get anything done in the city of whatever choice you want to talk about. So a lot to break down. And I don't think either of us are really in that capacity, at least in the legalese, to break all that stuff down. But we do have the ability to break down what's going on in the winner's circle. And that is, of course, where Bryanna is right now. And once again, this is the new record. I haven't been kicked out of the winner's circle just yet. But without further ado, we'll pass it over to Bryanna. What's going on in the winner's circle, Bryanna?
Again, it'll probably happen when you play this. But for now, we're on the same side. I wish one of our ups was the Dodgers, but obviously we can't do that because it'd be an up for us, personally. Okay, so they are now last in the American League West with a record of 16-19, which is definitely not where either of us saw this season going. They are 3-4 in their last 7 games. They did, however, take the series against the Dodgers, hence why I wanted to put that in our ups since I had the control today, but I ruled against it. But you must be very happy on that one.
It's nice. The Dodgers have been struggling lately. And I think what's really good for the Angels is they won, I think it was the last game, they won 2-1. Normally that's not a game you expect the Angels to win with their pitching. So it's a nice little, at least I know they're in last place, but I think it's a nice little, I guess, glimmer of hope to do that against a bit of a beaten down team when the Dodgers, but still a very good Dodger team.
So on Monday versus the Astros, we talked about Jared Walsh earlier. He went 4 for 4. I would need to pull up what he actually did because I did not write it down. I really should have. But again, he went 4 for 4 against Astros when nobody else was able to do it. We've already seen a lot of Angels struggling in recent days, which hurts a lot. And I will get to why that hurts a lot in a few minutes. Let's see. What did Walsh do? So Walsh singled to right, doubled to deep right center, brought in a run, homered, singled to left, brought Trout in again, and walked. Those were his at-bats on Monday. So I see a right side with Pujols gone. And I'm sure most Angels fans do too. However, they really hate how it happened. So Ohtani, which I know you've got some things you'd like to say on this, he went into right field after being taken off the mound. He went 1 for 4 in the night hitting, but he had one of his best pitching performances in a while. I was hoping he could have gone the entire game. He pitched 7 innings. He only gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. So the reason that they lost the other day or last night was because Sledgers and Claudio each gave up 2 runs. I will let you go to Ohtani before I continue.
It was interesting to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the first time he's done that in the major in this side. He might have done it in Japan, but at least in the major leagues here, leaving a game that he pitched to go play right field. I don't know. I'm a negative guy. I'm not a negative guy. Pessimistic might be. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's better to say pessimistic, I guess, in my mind. But I look at what could have happened. I know if I'm an Angel fan and everything that Ohtani has gone through, I would just hate for, him to try and gun somebody out at, home base or home plate or third base and then grab his elbow. And then he has to go get Tommy John again in a situation that, you could make the case, well, eventually it was going to happen anyway. It would just not be a great look. But, I'm sitting here. We're sitting here doing a podcast. Joe Madden is probably the best manager in baseball, no matter what Albert Pujols says. So he knows better than I do. It was a little maybe a gamble that I don't know if I would have taken, but you brought up a great point that, look, you want to keep his bat in the lineup. This is a guy that is a really, really top-notch batter. And maybe the fact that I believe it was his best outing overall. He might have gone longer maybe in other ones, but I thought it was his best outing. And so it was a little bit like, wow, he went long, really deep into it, and then they put him out right. A little odd to me. It all worked out. And once again, Joe Maddon, he forgets more about baseball than I'll ever know. So I'm not really going to jump down his throat. It just, to me, it seemed like a gamble that I don't know if it needed to be made.
I mean, I didn't think that they were going to take him out. Yes, the game was tight at 1, but look at what your bullpen has been doing. Why would you take him out when he's having that good of an outing? We go back to Snell from last year. Why would you take him out off the pitching mound when he's having one of the best pitching performances of his career?
At least the Rays had a good bullpen. I will at least play devil's advocate there, but it didn't work out. But that was still the worst decision they could have made. Again, they lost 5-1, and Ohtani only gave up one of those runs before he got pulled. So I don't see why he needed to go out. Maybe there was something we didn't know about. And obviously I couldn't watch the game because it wasn't nationally televised. But I still didn't see a point as to him getting taken out when I saw that. But continuing on, Trout has been struggling quite a bit. And Jared Walsh, who we just talked about, who is hitting .339, is catching up to Trout's batting average for the season, which is at .355. Do you think Walsh is going to overtake Trout's batting average this year? I don't think when it's all said and done, no.
No, just the season.
No, like at the end of the year when the season is over, who has a higher batting average?
Yes.
I'm going to give it to Trout. I think Trout gets it done. Not too many players we can talk about that are struggling, and then we finish, but he's hitting .353 or whatever that is. I think he'll figure it out. I think Walsh, I don't believe Walsh will hit over, .320. And I could be wrong. He's on my fantasy team. I don't want to be.
He's on mine too. I don't want to be wrong.
I love it, but I don't know if he's going to hit .330 the rest of the year. I would expect, but if he does, I mean, the Angels have to feel great about that. Doesn't really help the bullpen situation, but they have to feel great about that. If I had to, as a betting man myself, I would say Trout.
Okay. So we're going into tonight's game, which obviously has not happened yet. It's the final game of the Astros series. There's no Fletcher, there's no Trout, and there's no Upton. And that kind of scares me. Yes, Ohtani's still in the lineup, but he's also leading off, which is not something he has done with the Angels yet. So I don't know how this is going to go. They have a day off tomorrow, so I really don't understand this. You would think they'd let them play tonight, especially because it's the Astros. And everybody in the American League West is above them. And you want the best chance to win. Yes, Trout and Fletcher have been struggling, but I think you need Trout defensively. Even if he's struggling offensively, he's not struggling defensively.
Well, and I don't care what Trout does or how much Trout is struggling offensively. He doesn't get benched. You don't bench Mike Trout.
Maybe they're just giving him a day, but I think they have a day off tomorrow, so I really don't understand this. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Friday through Sunday, they face the Boston Red Sox, who are, I believe, third in the American League, third or fourth in the American League. Yeah, in the American League standings. And then they've got the Indians Monday through Wednesday. So they've got a difficult week coming up, but I did say that last week, and look what they did. So far, they're 1-1 against the Astros, but they did take the series against the Dodgers, which I was not thinking would happen. So I'm optimistic. And that's it for the winner's circle.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is very, very interesting that you have a chance to win the series against the Astros. You have tomorrow off, and I mean, okay, maybe one of those guys needs to sit, but all three, that's very, very interesting. But once again, it is Joe Maddon. He knows something, and who knows? Maybe Mike Trout and David Fletcher, it was designed to be that way, and all of a sudden Upton maybe felt a little banged up too. But we'll see. And I'll tell you what, though, if the Angels can go out and kind of steal the victory tonight, it'd be a great little momentum boost for them. At least feel good about themselves that, hey, we were able to win a series and get a win against the Astros, who are going to be up near the top of that division without, 3 of our top players. So is Rendon still hurt?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So hopefully
trust me, I will put it in the winner's circle when he comes back.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah.
But as of now, he's still out.
Gotcha. Well,
and another reason, but tonight's game will depend on this bullpen.
And that's not great.
No, especially with what they've been doing. They started off so well, and then the Twins postponement happened, and they have to do that next week. So, I mean, I don't know how to feel about this right now.
Well, it's unfortunately a nice little segue.
And Heaney is pitching, by the way.
Oh, I like that. Tonight?
So do I, yes.
I like that.
So do I. But the bullpen needs to do its thing.
Yeah. But yeah, as Bryanna said, talking about the COVID situation with Minnesota that kind of stumbled up with the Angels. The Padres are in the midst of an unfortunate situation right now. Obviously, Fernando Tatis and Will Myers both tested positive. Tatis was held out of Tuesday night's game. And Will Myers was in Tuesday night's game and then pulled halfway through the game when they found out there was a positive test. I don't understand how that happens. But anyways, also Jerkson Profar, Eric Hosmer, and Jorge Mateo have all been placed on a safety and protocol list. It's a contact tracing situation. They'll have to go through some things, not necessarily for those 3 having positive tests, but they are still unavailable. This is not great, obviously, for the Padres to lose. Obviously, Will Myers, who's playing very well, that's tough. But to lose Fernando Tatis after he's kind of really started to get rolling, still struggling defensively, it's not ideal. Both of these players are asymptomatic. It's as I said earlier, I was talking with my mom when the news broke, and I just I wasn't terribly concerned. Obviously, look, the health and safety of Fernando Tatis is first and foremost. And, he's asymptomatic. He's young, in great shape. I don't expect this to really affect him. But I think the shoulder issue that Fernando Tatis had earlier in the season is a much bigger concern still than this. So if anything, this is almost kind of an enforced break for Tatis. It's kind of forcing him to maybe slow down, rest that shoulder up for an extra 10 days, whatever it will end up being. There are plenty of protocols that he will have to get through. It's not great, but I don't think it's devastating. However, the 2 teams that have been hit by these, at least straight away, not like within the Angels case, they weren't hit with the COVID outbreak. They were just hit with having to sit for X number of days because they weren't able to play a team's COVID outbreak. The Astros and Twins both went through this. The Twins missed games. The Astros missed players. It looks like the Padres will be playing all their games. They'll just be missing key players. Both the Twins and Astros struggled in those times. The Twins have yet to pull themselves out of that hole they got themselves in. The Astros have. It will be interesting to see what happens with the Padres during this. Technically, they are 2-0 in this. They won Tuesday night, and they have won the first game of the doubleheader. As I speak now, they're just getting ready to start game 2 in Colorado. So it isn't devastating. They'll have a day off on Thursday, tomorrow, and then 3 games against the Cardinals, a team that's playing really good baseball after just sweeping the Rockies. And then on the other side of the Cardinal series, you get the Rockies again. So you could possibly say that this may be the best time to lose a guy like Tatis and Will Myers and even Hosmer and Mateo and Profar. Obviously, the Cardinals are playing really good ball. But I think even without those players, the Padres are better than the Rockies, as they've shown in their first 2 games. Really, really interesting to see how this stretch of 7 games goes with these players kind of, there's going to be a lot of question marks. When will these players be back? It's not hamstring. It's not these things where you have to check these boxes and the trainer says yes. It's now other boxes in terms of temperature checks. And and COVID tests and things like that. So we'll see when these players return. But once again, I really do believe that this is the best time for the Padres to have this. No time is. That would be the best time. But in this situation, I don't think it will affect them too much considering what they have coming up. But overall, at the moment, the Padres are 21-16, sitting 2 games. I think that's a game and a half now. They're a game and a half behind the Giants after the Padres won earlier today. They are looking forward. Obviously, they're still got about another month until they face the Dodgers again. But these moments, look, when you play the Diamondbacks, when you play the Rockies, these are the games you have to win. The Cardinals, maybe not so much. But if the Padres can win today, finish a 3-game sweep with the Rockies, and even take 2 out of 3 with the Rockies at home next week, that would set themselves up to really be in good position. If they could win the series against the Cardinals, they may be in first place in the West by the time we talk next week. So while it's not great in San Diego when it comes to off the field stuff and COVID issues, things like that, on the field, the bullpen continues to lead the National League in ERA. They continue to kind of carry this team. Even if they had a bit of a stumble in game 1 today, they still did enough to get the win. The Padres hopefully will be trying to run down the Giants that just don't seem to be going anywhere. They seem to be sticking around. We'll see how that goes. But once again, they have to beat the Rockies. They have to beat the teams like the Diamondbacks. Even the Pirates, they weren't really as dominant against the Pirates as they should have been. So we'll see how it goes. 4 more games against the Rockies. In between, they'll have 3 with the Cardinals. We'll see how that goes. But if the Padres can go 5-2 in the next 7 games, I think they'll be in really good position and probably in first place by the time we talk next week. But that's all I got for the Padre report. It is now time for our 3 up and 3 down edition. As Bryanna said, we split the duties up this week. I said I'm a pessimistic person. I'm going to be taking the downs. Bryanna, she'll be taking the up. So the first up, it's all on you, Bryanna.
Since our first down is in this same division, we're going to start with the White Sox in Cleveland moving up in the American League Central. So Cleveland is now in second. White Sox are in first. We've seen the no-hitters. We've seen them just battling it out for the top. We knew that this division was going to be a fight to the finish. We thought that the Twins were going to be in it, but they have their own issues. So, I mean, I believe the White Sox are still going to win this division, but Cleveland is showing that they can hang around the big dogs. And I'll let you go because I've got more to say about the Royals.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And I kind of said it earlier that we both expected the Royals to kind of slow down. And when that happened, we expected or at least I expected the Twins to at least be the best, and the White Sox as well, but the White Sox were already up there, but the Twins to kind of be the team that rises up. That hasn't been the case. They're still in 4th place, the Twins being, but it's the Indians who are getting it done, obviously, after an offseason with name changes and ownership stuff and squabbles, and obviously trading away their top player in Francisco Lindor to be there and to be right there with the White Sox, a team that you correctly at least the beginning of the year picked to win the division. Looks pretty darn good. I was on the Twins bandwagon, and that bandwagon is stuck on the side of the road trying to figure out what's going on. But in that same division, as you alluded to, the first down is those Kansas City Royals. This was a team, they were up. They were on our ups list last week as the best team in baseball, or at least winning percentage-wise. Well, they've lost 9 in a row since then and sit in 3rd place. They are now 16-18. They are 4.5 games behind the Chicago White Sox. This is kind of, I think, more par for the course what we expected from the Royals, a team that's probably going to continue to fall. I think eventually the Twins will kind of move up before them. I think this is a 4th place team when it is all said and done. Bryanna, anything you want to add to the Royals situation?
I mean, it doesn't help that the 2 teams we talked about in the up were the games that they lost. Although they did just lose to the Tigers yesterday, so that kind of says something. My connection is unstable, so just keep that in mind right now. Okay, for a second I froze. So
You're good.
this Tigers series is going to go, but then they've got the White Sox again. So I don't see the. I see them going down even more. I don't know what the Twins schedule looks like, but for right now, the White Sox schedule is looking good for next week. Royals, they need to beat Detroit if they want to get out of this.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose to, the top teams in your division, but starting to scuffle against Detroit, who I believe is the worst team in baseball record-wise right now. That's not a great look. Got our second up.
Okay, so the second up is going to be those damn Yankees. So I'm just trying to get some things off my phone so I can see. So obviously, I don't know why I clicked the Red Sox, but the Yankees are now in second in the American League East. They were, I believe, in third last week. So they have moved up. They just beat the Rays yesterday. They're playing at 4:00 today, so we'll see how that goes. And I mean, the Rays are the current American League champions. So, and yes, they're missing a lot of their pitching from last year, but that still says something. Nationals, and they won 2 of the 3 against the Astros. I call that a win for me.
Yeah,
but
that was
again, this division, just like the Central, is kind of neck and neck, especially when you put the Blue Jays into it. So with the Yankees going up, that's a good sign for them. And I'm just excited to hear you're down.
Yeah. I'll just go with the Yankees. That's a team that I think is finally, maybe staying healthy, something we don't say too often with them. Even with, I think it's Stanton, who's really struggling right now. Maybe it's Judge. One of those two is really struggling right now, but they've gotten the pitching that they've needed, and they've taken care of business in that division, especially, against the Astros. I know they're not in that division, but taking care of business in situation. That was a very emotionally charged series. I'm sure you saw plenty of video of, let's just say it wasn't a birthday song that the Yankees were, Yankee fans were chanting towards Jose Altuve on his birthday. And he responded by hitting a home run. It was kind of, I'm not an Astro fan, but it was kind of like, well, I don't like the Yankees either, so I'm going to laugh at that too. But for the Yankees, I think it's going to be Yankees, Red Sox, maybe Blue Jays, as you said. With the Blue Jays, I hope that the question marks of where they're going to play, in the next month or two don't really start to hurt them, because it's already been announced they can't stay in Florida for too much longer with that weather. They don't want to do that in that stadium. So we'll see how that goes. But moving on to, as Bryanna alluded to, my second down. And look, I'm going to preface this by saying being an umpire, period, in any sport, referee, whatever, blah, 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 it's pretty tough, especially at a professional level. And to be a major league umpire, it's really, really tough. To call balls and strikes, it's tough. With all the movement these guys are pitching, or all the movement these guys are throwing with, it is tough. However, my second down is Angel Hernandez, without a doubt, the worst umpire that I have ever seen at the major league level. This is a guy whose season started in a courtroom where a judge, assuming he spent, the last five days after, the defense and the plaintiff's rest, blah, 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 watching Angel Hernandez be an umpire. And he comes to the conclusion, you know what, Angel? They're not passing on you because of your ethnicity. They're passing on you because you suck. Now, let's take you back, and everyone has an Angel Hernandez story. There, you can go through, type in Angel Hernandez on YouTube, and I guarantee you it will not be a positive video. And that's just the way it is. That's what he's done. That's the bed he's made. I'm going to take you back. And they're playing. It was, it was the Indians were involved. I believe it was the Royals and the Indians. There's a fly ball out to right center field. Angel Hernandez is the first base umpire. Okay. The ball goes out into the right center gap. The right fielder misses it, and it kind of bounces around, but it stays close to the wall, so it doesn't bounce straight back into the field. So it looks a little weird, but everyone in the stadium knows the ball is dropped, and it's a live ball. It's going to be extra bases. Angel Hernandez is halfway out to right field and tells everybody, no, it's caught. He puts the out signal up. The runner on second base is wondering what's going on. He runs back. Third base coach is telling him to run, and then he sees Angel Hernandez say he's out. He tries to get the attention of the batter the runner who scored, who started on third base. He's trying to get him to come back. Eventually, the guy on second base gets tagged out. Then they talk about it, and Angel Hernandez goes, yep, I messed up. We're going to put the guy on third, pretend it never happened. Ridiculous. Terry Francona comes out. He's very frustrated. He was asked after the game, what did you say to Angel Hernandez? And Terry Francona was very honest. And he said, I just asked him why every time Angel Hernandez or every time you're here, something like this happens. A very nice way of saying, why are you so bad at what you do? And Angel Hernandez is terrible. And let's go back even a week after that. It was the Royals situation again. Mike Matheny and Kyle Singer very frustrated with the ball strike zone. There's a couple, borderline pitches, but Angel Hernandez has a reputation, right? That any borderline pitch, you're just going to assume is a bad pitch because it's Angel Hernandez. He's always wrong. That's just the reputation he has. And it's definitely preceded him. There was a balk call on Kyle Singer. It was very close, but you know what? It was the right call. However, because it was a close call and Angel Hernandez made it, everyone just assumes that he's wrong. Now, I'm not bringing him into this down because of that, because of his reputation. The reason I'm bringing him into this is because this is an umpire who goes out of his way to make the situation worse. Someone's arguing balls and strikes, let them throw a fit and they walk to the dugout. When Angel Hernandez takes off his mask and starts following that player to the dugout, that's when you are inciting a situation. That's when you are essentially making it seem that we are all here to see the Angel Hernandez show. Guess what? None of us care about Angel Hernandez, other than the fact that our team is probably going to get screwed when Angel Hernandez is in the game. I'm sure Angel Hernandez, probably a really nice guy, great father, great husband, all that stuff. Terrible umpire with absolutely no motivation to improve. It's obvious that this is a guy that does not want to get better at his job. And the legal system to start the year essentially was the one who told him, no, you're not missing out on playoff umpiring gigs because of your ethnicity. You're missing out on those because you suck. And that's the end of it. That's all I got. Bryanna, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or if you just want to go straight into the third up.
Well, actually, I want you to do the third down first.
Oh, okay. That's fair. The third down is the Washington Nationals. Now, look, not a ton was expected of the Nationals, but there are still some pretty damn good players there. You got Juan Soto, Steven Strasburg, Mad Max Scherzer, and the way the National League East was set up this year, or at least has been going, the National League East is wide open, folks. You got the Mets at the top of the division. That tells you how wide open that division is. However, the Nats are in last place, yes, behind those Marlins. They are 13-19, losers of 3 straight. Look, Soto has come back from his injury. He's struggling, hitting somewhere down around 260, where he was hitting in the high 300s earlier. Steven Strasburg still on the DL. Mad Max isn't, the full Mad Max of old. However, I will say the Nats 2 years ago when they won the World Series, this is kind of what they were doing, right? They were a very mediocre team, and I'm calling them mediocre would be nice. They ended up pulling it together and getting it done. However, I just think that 2019 team was better, and they didn't have to deal with what is the NL East. As wide open as the NL East is, the Nationals and Marlins might be the teams that just kind of start to fall apart and are easy pickings for the big three in that division. So that is my third down. The Washington Nationals team 13-19 in last place, not looking good.
For a second, I thought you were going to say football team.
I almost did. I almost had a little, wait, what am I saying? I
You
almost
should
went,
see the Charger
R-word.
tweets though that are happening right now. Because they're the week 1 opponent. They're like, our first week opponent is a football team. But you should see the Pop-Tart tweets.
Interesting.
Because they made all of their opponents Pop-Tarts.
Oh, okay.
The teams, at least. So the final up, it's kind of a feel good, kind of a, if you're experiencing this, please go get some help. Please go talk to somebody. We don't need to see this anymore. I know it's happened a lot because of COVID, but if you are feeling this way, please go talk to somebody. So our final up is going to be Drew Robinson. So he lost an eye due to a suicide attempt last April, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He had suffered multiple from a lot of mental health issues for years prior to this. Obviously, with COVID closing everything down, it made it worse. So he's currently playing for the AAA Giants affiliate, the Sacramento River Cats. He has now said that he feels he's right where he belongs, playing baseball. And he ended up hitting his first home run, or a home run in his first game back with one eye. I mean, it's a feel good, but again, if you're feeling like you have some mental health issues and you feel like you're suicidal, please go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, your turn.
It's I agree. I echo everything that you just said. It is a situation, if you are dealing with something like that, even if you're not in that situation where you think, oh, I'm all the way at that level, talk to somebody, preferably a professional, but just anybody. Hopefully that person will give you an ear and help you feel better. And this is a situation, it's an onion. I almost struggle to talk about it because there are so many layers to this. Obviously, you have the suicide attempt, and a lot of it, from what you read to me before the podcast, stemming from failures in baseball, Major League Baseball. And look, Major League Baseball, that even the worst Major League Baseball player right now, whoever that is still a world-class baseball player. The AAA players, the AA players, world-class baseball players, period. However, when you get to that level and the world we live in now, where everything is so magnified, you can go on Twitter, you can go on wherever you want, you can pull up any stat you want. And everyone kind of has an idea. If you're 23, 24 years old, okay, you have to be in the majors by now. If you're 27, 28, you're still in the minors, no, you're done. You're never going to make it. And unfortunately, I feel like sometimes those mindsets, those timetables get into people's heads. We see it all the time. There was I think it was Sean Kazmar from the Braves. Now, it wasn't as, feel good of story in terms of what he went through, but 13 years in the minor leagues. That's an incredible sacrifice. And for him to be mentally strong enough to deal with that. And for this kid to be mentally strong enough to obviously go through that, to live to tell the tale of, shooting himself in the head, live to tell the tale, meeting your family and friends after, it's almost too much to even think about how you would deal with that. And then to throw on top of it, you're going to go play Major League Baseball, or in this case, minor league baseball, but go chase your dream of Major League Baseball. And you're only at 50% capacity, really. Let's be honest. It's hard enough to play baseball with two eyes. This guy's doing it with one. He's making great catches in the outfield. It's a fantastic story. I wish him nothing but the best until he makes it to the Giants and then plays the Padres. And even then, I'll still have a bit of a soft spot for him. This is a fantastic story, but I love the way you started it. The bigger story here is, if you're going through something like this, look, you're probably not going to survive it. You're not going to have this redemption story. So you have to address it now, before it gets to that point. And talk to somebody, do something, and take the steps needed so that you don't get to this point. And, thank God that this gentleman got a second chance to not only live, but to chase his dream. And he's doing it. But That doesn't happen to a lot of people. Doesn't happen to the vast majority of people who are in this situation or at that level. And if you are, I can't stress it enough. Even if it's me, you can get at me on Twitter or whatever. I will try to find you a professional to talk to, but I'll listen to what you need to say, and hope that whatever you are going through, just know that, there is light at the end of the tunnel, even if you can't see it right now. But this is an inspirational story for not only people who are going through stuff like that, but just baseball players in general. I kind of liken it to a Jim Abbott scenario. Now, I know that wasn't the exact same situation, but it is a bit of a, what do you call it? Handicap at this point. It's something he has to fight through, and he's still doing very well. I can't wait to see him in the major leagues. I hope we do. And I hope he does very, very well. Maybe the Giants trade him, and I'll fully be able to get behind it. But with that, that's all I have there. Bryanna, any final thoughts? A great way to end the show.
Jordan Zimmermann.
Yes. Maybe retires, not a great way.
No, but retires after 13 years. He was the first pitcher to throw a no-hitter in the Washington National history. We needed to obviously say this at some point in this show. But, I mean, two-time All-Star, threw the first no-hitter for a team like Musgrove did with your Padres. So, I mean, he's achieved so much in these 13 years. Obviously, he's going to miss it, and it sucks that it's like little over a month into the season. But, I mean, we've been seeing it recently.
Yeah.
And he just wants to, I think, be with his family.
Yeah. I believe, I could have this backwards, but I believe he started in Detroit and then signed a big contract with the Nationals. Or once again, I could have that backwards, and he started with the Nationals and signed with Detroit. But whatever,
he was with Milwaukee recently.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, this was back. I want to say Zimmerman was on the Nationals World Series team. Once again, I could have the dates backwards or the teams backwards. But for Zimmerman, he was a guy at very solid number 3. Probably maybe signed that contract that wasn't ideal for him, because when you do sign those types of contracts, there's a lot of extra expectations that come your way, and he wasn't fully able to meet them. But a 13-year career, that's nothing to sniff at. I know when you sent that to me, I felt kind of bad when I said, yeah, I got nothing to say about it. Not necessarily the case. It's not news like Albert Pujols or, something like that. But it's
and he had to think about this because his final appearance was this past Friday.
Yeah.
So this was something he obviously thought about.
Yeah. And we've seen it already too with Jay Bruce retiring kind of, I would say abruptly, but at the same time, it made sense. And best of luck to him. I think we will probably see him in some sort of capacity if he wants, whether he wants to be a pitching coach, maybe an analyst somewhere. I'm sure we'll see him. He had a very, very good career. Won't be heading to Cooperstown, but then again, that's the 1% of the 1% that get to go do that. So with that is all we have for you today on this episode of the Changeup, presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. You can find myself at First Report, FERST. You can find the podcast at Off the Bench 12. And of course, you can find my co-host Bryanna Winner at BWinner12. And with that, it is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We will talk to you all very soon. Have a wonderful day. Take care.